everything that is right at Arsenal is everything that is wrong at Chelsea. Arsenal beat Chelsea 1-0 at Stamford Bridge, and this was a incredibly tense and frustrating game to watch. Tense for Arsenal fans, tense for Chelsea fans, but overall disappointing and just a really poor performance from Chelsea at home, against our London rivals, against a team that I absolutely despise and hate to lose to, because my whole network of friends are all Arsenal fans. 80% of them are Arsenal fans. And so to lose today, the texts are flooding in. Salt is being rubbed in the wounds very heavily. And it's a tough one. It's a tough L to take as a Londoner. But credit to Arsenal. Like, I have to speak about how good Arsenal are, what an amazing start to the season they're having, how organic things are there, how they're playing so well, how they've got a crop of players all with something to prove, hungry. They've, with the addition of Saliba and Partey, they've just been transformed to a team battling for top four, now in contention and true deserved league contenders along with Man City. And they're going to, I think, go to the wire with City this season because they're full of belief. And as I said, they've got players with a point to prove, players that want to do something, and want to make a legacy for their club. And that's exactly what we are severely lacking at Chelsea. We've got so many good players, so many talented footballers, but there does seem to be an air of complacency, this idea of not really knowing what we're doing. This, of course, this big manager upheaval, Graham Potter coming in, Tuchel leaving, Thomas Tuchel having that window, signing players that he wanted, perhaps having a back and forth with the board. Graham Potter now coming in from Brighton. Brighton are above us. And it's all just a bit too crazy at the moment at Chelsea. And it is another transition. And today was just an example of how off it we are. Yes, we only lose 1-0 at home. But, we went there. We went to our home game this afternoon with the idea of salvaging a point, not losing badly. And player for player, we should be competing with Arsenal. And, under the right tutelage, we should be challenging for top four, for the league. And it's just not happening at the moment because we are very disjointed. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. I can't wait for this World Cup break. Get this World Cup break underway ASAP. Get the players who are not going to the World Cup and to represent their nations in the training ground. And Potter and his backroom staff have got a lot of work to do. Graham Potter hasn't had the opportunity to really cement his ideas. He's learning on the fly, and this game is just another example of that. Learning on the fly, who's his best 11, who wants it, who's performing. We're just absolutely toothless up front. Like, we've got this plethora of players. We've got Aubameyang, we've got Sterling, we've got Havertz, we've got Mount, we've got Pulisic. All of these players right now, no cutting edge, no killer instinct, no one with an eye for goal, no one to produce a bit of magic, which in games you need every now and then. Can't always come. You're not always necessarily going to score goals because you deserve to. Sometimes you've got to take what's yours, create opportunities, and when you get a small sniff at goal, you take it. And that is just a problem we have, and it's a big problem. We can't score. We defended well today. We disrupted Arsenal. Arsenal, they run out the gates flying. They score in their first half, the first half an hour. They absolutely blindside teams from the moment the first whistle was blown. We stopped them from doing that. We prevented that. That was the game plan. This is a big game. We cannot have Arsenal come to Stamford Bridge and, mow us over. We need to be able to hold our ground and disrupt them. And we did that. Arsenal struggled to get things going, but they were still far more inventive, far more full of belief and confidence. And Chelsea are just full of dread, knowing that they're not going to score, knowing if we go 1-0 down, the game's over, knowing that no one's really going to take this game by the scruff of the neck. No one is going to, come out of this game feeling like this is life or death. No one is putting their neck on the line to win this game. And, with the absence of Reece James, it's just really so pedestrian out there for Chelsea. It's so laboured. It's so poor. And I really was not confident going into this game. I knew we were going to lose this game, and at best we were going to draw. And that's really, really disappointing, being at home, being a Chelsea supporter, having spent all this money, having the quality that we have, and still having such a pessimistic perspective on this game. It's just not on. And it is Graham Potter's first few games. You know, he can't implement his ideas straight away, but it's just becoming really tough to take and to watch, knowing the talent that we have and not getting the best out of them. It's very frustrating. I just think it all boils down to a point to prove. Graham Potter has a point to prove. Conor Gallagher has a point to prove. Armando Broja has a point to prove. Reece James has won the Champions League. Ben Chilwell, they've won the Champions League, but they still play like they've got a point to prove. There's a lot of players, two of which that we've brought in, that I don't want to criticise because they're fantastic players and they do perform and they do give you results. But the trajectory that I want to see this Chelsea team go on is not fitting players like Aubameyang, and it's not fitting players like Sterling. And that's just, I think maybe to call Sterling out is a bit harsh. So I'll focus on Aubameyang. Aubameyang has made this game spicier than it needed to be. This is not a player in form. He's come out, he's, provoked, sold the game as the BT Sport people have asked him to do. I've seen the full clip where he's been asked to say this, asked to say that. He repeats it. He acts well. Like, fair play to Aubameyang. He's a talented player, and he's very good at. He was able to sell the game from this promo that BT Sport have pitched him, but it was just probably not the right move, and it just stings even more because you've put your neck on the line there. It's nothing personal. Like, we're going to do something. I never went into this game thinking we were going to do anything. So I always knew that was going to be the narrative. There was always going to be a shot of him sat on the bench after being subbed in 60th, 70th minute without a goal, coming off for Armando Broja, as has happened the past 5-6 games. And that narrative was pointless and probably added more fuel to the fire for Arteta's men and for that team who were just full of spirit, full of hunger, and wanted to beat and rub out their old captain. And fair play, I can't deny it. And I like Aubameyang. I think he's brilliant. I think he's a fantastic footballer. I think he's a really cool personality as well. I think that's the kind of guy I would like to go out and have a drink with. But this Chelsea team, we're not on that kind of vibe at the moment. We need to pick up points. We need hunger. We got players that have got a point to prove and players that still need to earn their stripes. Aubameyang has got a glittering career. Won FA Cups with Arsenal, won trophies with Dortmund. He's a legend, he's a star. But he was so uninvolved today, with that narrative looming over the game. And it was just unnecessary fire, unnecessary fuel to add to the fire. But credit to Arsenal. The game itself, I'm sure they never felt super confident that they were going to run away with it. But they were in control largely, and I just knew that after watching Chelsea these past 4 or 5 games, I knew that we are a team really suffering, and I didn't see this being the game we were going to bounce back. Graham Potter's got to go back to the drawing board with his backroom staff and start assessing some of the attitude of his players and the personalities and who's really showing fight and who's playing for him, because I can already see this imbalanced team where players have come to Chelsea, got a point to prove, players who are on their way out, players who are trying to make a name for themselves, players who are struggling for form, need an arm around them, players who need a bit of rotation, it's a lot of man management here that needs to happen, and it's just clear as day that we're not really ready. And as these games have come so thick and fast, I think we've come out largely unscathed. I knew we were going to drop points today. We've dropped points against Brighton last weekend, absolutely drubbed. We've got one more game left. If we can pick up a win against Newcastle, which is highly unlikely, given Newcastle are playing absolutely fantastic football. I think they've got the best defensive record in the league. We've got the worst attacking record in the league. I know we don't, but it feels like we do. It's a game I don't expect us to win, but if we lose that game, then serious questions are going to be asked. Not of the manager. It's obviously not going to happen ASAP, but it will put us in a really, really bad position come the return of the Premier League in December, and it might just put us a bit too out of reach for a top four finish this season, because Newcastle have come out and, you know, flying, and they are fully deserved of where they need to be, and no one's knocked them off their pedestal yet. And I'm really doubting that we're going to be the team to do it, but we sort of need to. I don't think we can lose that game. The way the results are going, Man United losing, that's a silver lining, you know. They haven't made up too much ground there, but it's a game we cannot lose. You know, perhaps having Champions League done and dusted, we might be able to get that full week and focus on that game. You know, having to play all these different games midweek, on the weekend, him tinkering around, trying things, it's been a bit of a mess. And Potter really could do with the time to understand the project and where we're going, because we're lost at the moment. We've lost to Arsenal. Big credit to Arsenal. Arsenal got the sauce at the moment. I can give nothing but props to them. Absolutely brilliant team, brilliant cohesion at the moment. Really, really like a lot of their players. And that you just look on, and I feel like we had a bit of that, you know, under Lampard and under some of these, with this new crop of Chelsea players, Reece James, Mason Mount, Tomori, Tammy, we had that, and we've made a mess of that, and we're trying to get that back. We've got Graham Potter back in, and we're trying to get that back. But it feels like it's not going to happen right away. Guys, let me know what you think. I mean, disappointing afternoon. But did you really expect us coming away with a win? I really didn't fancy it. I want to know what you guys think. Like, it's hard to even talk about what went wrong in the game, because just for me, it was the approach from the players that was the real issue. I don't even feel like it was something that tactically we got so wrong. Like, we played our back four, Cucurella, still shaky. He did his best to contain Saka. Saka's a hard player to defend against for any wing back, and he made it very difficult for Marc Cucurella this afternoon. So there was a lot of players that were just putting in very disappointing performances, but I just think it all comes from a lack of belief and a lack of direction, and that's the real reason we're having this big dip in form and why we can't beat Arsenal and teams like Arsenal at the moment. So, guys, let me know what you think. What was wrong today? What are you disappointed about? What are you positive about? We didn't concede too many goals. We looked a bit more steady defensively. I want to know what you guys think, though. Please leave a comment in the comment box. Like this video if you did. Subscribe to the channel, of course. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully more positive news and a more positive performance when we play Newcastle next weekend. All right, guys.